What would you do if you saw someone being wrongfully arrested just because of the color of their skin? Would you stay silent, or stand up and fight back? In this shocking story, world-famous actor Keanu Reeves does something no one expected. He refuses to leave until justice is served. Stay with us as we uncover the full story behind this viral moment, revealing the truth, the tension, and the courage that changed everything. You won't want to miss a single second. Chapter 1: The Unjust Arrest. It was a bright, warm afternoon in the heart of downtown Los Angeles, where the city buzzed with life. Street vendors selling food, people chatting over coffee, tourists snapping pictures, and office workers hustling between meetings. The sun cast a golden glow on the sidewalks, and there was an overall feeling of vibrancy in the air. Maya Johnson, a 32-year-old marketing executive, stepped out of the quaint cafe she frequented every Thursday afternoon. It was her little ritual. After a morning packed with meetings and phone calls, she treated herself to a cappuccino and a fresh croissant. Today, she was feeling particularly proud. Just an hour earlier, she had successfully closed a significant deal that could advance her career. Her confidence was radiant as she adjusted her tailored blazer, smiling softly to herself as she approached her sleek black sedan parked by the curb. Unbeknownst to her, a pair of police officers had been observing the street from across the block. They were part of a local patrol, known in the community for their strict enforcement but also for their controversial reputation when it came to racial profiling. Officer Blake and Officer Reynolds were chatting as they scanned the crowd, their eyes landing on Maya as she walked by. Suddenly, Officer Blake nudged his partner and whispered something. They exchanged a look, one that spelled trouble. In a swift, unprovoked move, the officers crossed the street and stopped Maya in her tracks. "Excuse me, ma'am. Are you the one who just stole something from that cafe?" Officer Blake asked, his tone sharp and accusatory. Maya blinked in confusion. "What? No, I just bought coffee and a pastry. I even paid with my card," she said calmly, holding up her receipt from the cafe's counter. But the officers weren't listening. Without any warning or further questions, they grabbed her arms and began to push her toward the patrol car. Maya's heart pounded in disbelief and fear. "Wait. You're making a mistake," she pleaded, trying to explain herself. "I didn't do anything wrong." Passers-by began to stop and stare. Some whispered among themselves, others pulled out their phones, sensing something was wrong. Maya's protests grew more desperate, but the officers ignored her. One of the officers barked, "You're under arrest for theft. Don't resist." Maya's wrists were snapped into cold metal handcuffs. The harsh click echoed on the pavement like a judge's gavel, condemning her without a trial. "Why are you doing this?" "I'm innocent," she shouted, tears beginning to form in her eyes. The crowd grew larger as bystanders gathered. Some looked angry, others shocked. A few people stepped closer, trying to speak to the officers, but the police were unmoved. Among the onlookers was a man who immediately recognized the situation was wrong. Keanu Reeves, a well-known actor and philanthropist, was nearby, filming footage for a charity campaign focused on community empowerment. Seeing the commotion, he approached calmly but with purpose. Keanu had always believed that fame came with responsibility. He knew that in moments like these, silence wasn't an option. "Excuse me, officers," Keanu said quietly but firmly as he reached the scene. "Can you tell me what's going on here?" The officers glanced at him, momentarily thrown off by the presence of a celebrity. Officer Reynolds replied curtly, "This woman is being detained for theft." Keanu looked at Maya, who was visibly trembling. "Are you sure this is a misunderstanding? Did anyone actually see her take anything?" "No," the officer snapped. "We have reason to believe she stole from the cafe." Keanu's eyes narrowed slightly. "May I see the evidence?" There was an uncomfortable pause. The officers exchanged glances, then one said, "We're just following protocol." "But I just paid for everything," Maya insisted, her voice cracking. "You can check the CCTV footage inside the cafe." The crowd murmured in agreement, some people pulling out their phones to offer help. Keanu took out his own phone and started recording the scene, making sure to capture everything: the officer's behavior, Maya's calm innocence, and the growing concern of the bystanders. "This doesn't seem right," Keanu said, now addressing the gathering crowd. "We need to make sure justice is served, and that means no one should be arrested without cause." One woman from the crowd stepped forward. "I saw the whole thing. She paid for her coffee. The cashier gave her the receipt." Keanu nodded. "Thank you." This kind of situation happens too often, innocent people being targeted without proof. Maya looked up, tears streaming down her cheeks now. "I'm so scared," she whispered. "I don't understand why this is happening to me." Keanu placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You're not alone. We're going to get to the bottom of this." The tension was thick in the air. The officers appeared agitated, their initial confidence shaken by Keanu's presence and the gathering witnesses. People around them were now calling the police department's complaint line and legal aid groups. The buzz of phones and whispers created a sense of accountability that the officers hadn't expected. "Sir, I need you to step back," Officer Blake said, attempting to regain control. Keanu shook his head. "I'm not leaving until this is resolved. If you're sure she committed a crime, let's see the evidence. Otherwise, you have no right to keep her here." The cafe manager came outside, confirming that Maya had indeed paid for her order and that there was no reason for the arrest. Keanu used his phone to contact a lawyer friend who began advising them on the next steps. Meanwhile, the crowd continued growing, some chanting for Maya's release, others demanding police accountability. The cameras from nearby news crews started to arrive, filming the unfolding drama. Maya's heart swelled with hope, knowing that she had an unexpected ally. Keanu's steady presence was a beacon of strength in an otherwise terrifying moment. As the sun began to dip lower, casting long shadows on the city streets, Maya realized this was just the beginning of a fight for justice, one that she wasn't willing to face alone. Chapter 2. Standing his ground. The tension thickened around the corner of the busy street where Maya was still handcuffed and standing by the patrol car. Keanu Reeves stood beside her, unwavering, as the crowd around them grew both larger and more vocal. The atmosphere shifted from one of confusion to one of growing outrage. People passing by had started recording the scene with their phones, voices rising in solidarity. Some called the police department's internal affairs unit, others called local civil rights organizations. Social media feeds would soon be flooded with live videos and posts about the incident. But none of this seemed to faze the two officers involved. If anything, Officer Blake and Officer Reynolds looked increasingly uncomfortable, their earlier confidence waning under the weight of scrutiny. Keanu, always known for his calm demeanor even in the most intense moments, addressed the officers in a firm yet respectful tone. "Look, I'm not here to cause trouble. But this arrest, there's no probable cause. You need to explain why you think she committed a crime." Officer Blake crossed his arms, avoiding eye contact. "Sir, we have a report of theft." "That's enough." Keanu shook his head slowly. "No, that's not enough. We live in a society with laws and rights. Arresting someone without evidence or witness testimony is not acceptable." The crowd began to murmur in agreement, their voices swelling with demands for fairness and justice. Maya, still handcuffed, looked up at Keanu with a mixture of gratitude and hope. Her breathing was uneven, her body tense from the stress and fear of the past hour, but seeing Keanu stand beside her made her feel less isolated. "Please," she whispered, "thank you for staying with me." Keanu gave a small, reassuring nod. "I'm not going anywhere. We'll get through this." Pulling out his phone again, Keanu started recording the interaction, making sure to document everything: the officer's words, Maya's demeanor, the crowd's reactions. The act of recording was a silent but powerful assertion. This moment was being witnessed and could not be hidden. One of the bystanders, a young man with a legal background, stepped forward. "I'm a law student," he said. "Under California law, the police need reasonable suspicion or evidence to detain someone. There's nothing here that justifies this arrest." Officer Reynolds narrowed his eyes. "We're doing our job. Step back." Keanu didn't move. "You're intimidating people and detaining someone without cause. That's not justice." Nearby, another woman who worked in the cafe where the incident started approached. "I can confirm," she said loudly, "that Maya paid for everything. I was there. The cashier gave her a receipt." Maya's lawyer friend, who Keanu had contacted earlier, arrived just then. The lawyer quickly began to speak with the officers, trying to negotiate Maya's release. But the officers remained stubborn. "Until this is cleared up, she's staying here," Officer Blake insisted. You don't get to interfere. Keanu's voice rose, calm but unwavering. Interfering? No. Ensuring justice? Absolutely. You don't get to keep an innocent person handcuffed because of your bias or a hunch. The tension escalated further. The crowd was now vocal, some shouting, "Let her go!" Others chanting, "Justice for Maya!" Local news reporters had arrived, setting up cameras and interviewing witnesses. The story was quickly becoming a public spectacle. Officer Reynolds looked around nervously. He could feel the heat of public scrutiny, and the presence of Keanu Reeves, someone whose influence was well known, only made things harder for him. "I'm calling my supervisor," he finally said, reaching for his radio. Keanu nodded. "Good. That's the right call." Minutes later, the police supervisor arrived, a middle-aged woman named Captain Harris. She took in the scene, the crowd, the tension, the handcuffed woman, and the famous actor standing beside her. "Captain Harris," Keanu said respectfully, "we're here because Maya Johnson has been wrongfully detained. There is no evidence or reasonable cause for her arrest." Captain Harris looked at Maya. "Miss Johnson, do you have a lawyer with you?" "Yes," Maya said, her voice still trembling but steady. The lawyer quickly outlined the facts. Maya's purchase at the cafe was legitimate and documented, no witnesses to theft existed, and the officer's decision was unfounded. Captain Harris listened carefully, then spoke to the officers. "Officers, what evidence do you have to justify this arrest?" Officer Blake hesitated, then muttered, "We received a report of theft from the cafe staff." "Did anyone see her take anything?" Captain Harris asked. "No," Officer Reynolds admitted reluctantly. "And do you have any proof, like CCTV footage or a stolen item?" she pressed. "No, ma'am," Officer Blake said, visibly uncomfortable. Captain Harris turned to Maya and Keanu. "Given the lack of evidence, I'm ordering Miss Johnson's immediate release." Relief washed over the crowd, and Maya's shoulders sagged as the handcuffs were removed. "Thank you," Maya said, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you all." Keanu smiled gently. "No one should be treated like this. Not you, not anyone." The officers remained silent, their faces betraying a mix of embarrassment and frustration. Captain Harris then addressed the officers firmly. "There will be an internal investigation into this incident. We take these matters seriously." As Maya gathered her belongings and prepared to leave, the crowd cheered softly, many offering words of support and encouragement. The experience had been traumatic, but the public support gave Maya strength. Keanu turned to the crowd. "This is just one story. There are many more like it. We have to stand up when we see injustice, even if it means standing alone." The moment was powerful, a reminder that the voice of one person, especially someone willing to stand firm, could create ripples that demand accountability. Maya looked at Keanu with gratitude, knowing that his refusal to walk away had made all the difference. Chapter 3: Justice and Release. The moment the handcuffs clicked open, signaling Maya's release, a heavy wave of relief swept over her entire body. She rubbed her wrists slowly, still aching from the cold metal that had held her captive for over an hour. The crowd around them began to break into murmurs of approval and applause, a collective exhale from the tension that had gripped the street for so long. Maya looked up at Keanu Reeves, whose calm presence had anchored her through the ordeal. Her eyes were glossy with tears, not just from the fear and humiliation she had endured, but also from gratitude. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice trembling. "You didn't have to stay. You didn't have to risk anything for me." Keanu shook his head, a soft smile touching his lips. "Everyone deserves justice, Maya. When something's wrong, we have to speak up. I'm glad I could be here with you." As Maya stepped away from the patrol car, the officers seemed defeated, their usual authority eroded by the undeniable truth and the watchful eyes of the public and media. The police supervisor, Captain Harris, stood nearby, her expression serious but composed. "We're going to launch a full internal investigation," Captain Harris said, addressing both the officers and the crowd. "This kind of incident cannot and will not be tolerated. Everyone deserves fair treatment, no matter their race or background." The crowd nodded in agreement, some still recording the interaction, ensuring that the story would be told accurately and loudly. Maya's lawyer approached her with a reassuring smile. We're going to file a formal complaint and pursue accountability. You're not alone in this. The moment marked a turning point, not only for Maya but for everyone watching. The incident was no longer just about one wrongful arrest. It had become a symbol of the larger issues plaguing the justice system. The aftermath, media and public reaction. Within hours, videos and photos of the incident flooded social media platforms. Clips showing Keanu Reeves standing firm beside Maya, demanding justice, went viral. The hashtag Justice for Maya trended nationwide. People from all walks of life expressed outrage and solidarity, sharing stories of similar experiences and calling for reform. News outlets picked up the story, broadcasting interviews with Maya, Keanu, legal experts, and civil rights activists. Maya's courage and Keanu's support were widely praised as a powerful example of standing up against racial injustice. Yet, the story also sparked debates and division. Some criticized the police for their handling of the situation, while others defended the officers, citing the challenges police face daily. But one thing was clear: the public spotlight was now firmly on the need for change. A personal stand, Keanu's commitment. For Keanu, this incident became more than just a news story. It was a call to action. Over the following weeks, he used his platform to raise awareness about racial profiling, police misconduct, and the importance of community support. He collaborated with civil rights organizations to host forums and fundraisers aimed at educating the public and pushing for policy reform. Keanu's involvement attracted attention not only because of his fame but because of his genuine commitment and humility. In interviews, he repeatedly emphasized, "We have to listen to those who are affected. We have to stand with them, not apart from them." His message resonated deeply, inspiring many of his fans and fellow celebrities to join the cause. Maya's journey forward. Maya herself became an outspoken advocate for justice. Despite the trauma she experienced, she channeled her energy into activism, speaking at events, sharing her story, and working with organizations dedicated to fighting racial bias in law enforcement. Her career also took on new meaning. She began consulting with companies on diversity and inclusion initiatives, helping others understand the real-world impacts of systemic racism. In private moments, Maya sometimes struggled with the lingering pain and fear from that day. But each time, she reminded herself that her voice and resilience could help others avoid similar experiences. The broader impact. The internal investigation into the officer's conduct revealed troubling patterns. Both Officer Blake and Officer Reynolds had prior complaints related to racial profiling and excessive force, but previous reports had been ignored or dismissed. As a result of the public pressure and the investigation, the police department implemented stricter oversight measures, including mandatory bias training, body camera policies, and an independent review board with community representatives. The department's chief issued a public apology to Maya and the community, acknowledging the failures that led to her wrongful arrest. A moment that changed everything. Looking back, Maya realized that while the day had started like any other, it had turned into a defining moment, not just for her, but for a city grappling with deep issues of inequality. Keanu's refusal to leave, his decision to stand with her, had made all the difference. It was a reminder that sometimes, courage is contagious, and one person's stand can ignite a movement. And so, as the city moved forward, Maya and Keanu's story remained a powerful testament to the importance of justice, allyship, and the unyielding fight against racism. This story is more than just a video, it's a voice for change. If you stand for truth and justice, hit that like button, subscribe now, and don't forget to ring the bell. Together, we can stand against injustice. Every like and subscription is a step toward making a difference. Your support is our strength.